My wife might have cheated with her friend's ex-boyfriend. Update. I want to thank everybody for their support and honestly helping me. People here has been guiding me through this and it's been helpful. I was going to post this weekend but so much has happened that I had to post this update today. This is definitely a crazy time for me, and it's blowing me away right now how right you are about my wife. At the beginning of this year when my wife ran into her friend, Tasha, ex-boyfriend at the supermarket. When my wife introduced me to this guy, Trey, I didn't think it was a big deal. At first it seemed like she had reunited with an old friend or whatever, but she seemed a little too excited to see him again. After that they kept in touch and it was beginning to be too much. She started showing all the red flags and it was looking real suspicious. They'd talk on the phone for hours, they would like each other pics on Facebook. And this guy started calling late at night. When I told her all this looked inappropriate, she said I was overreacting. When she spoke with him, she would laugh and giggle, and she would try to teach him Spanish words since we're Puerto Rican. What was worst was at the Super Bowl party Trey had invited us to. At the party I caught him checking out my wife, especially her body. She had the type of body where if she walked past, you would wait a few seconds then turn and look at it. Eventually she became aware of this even caught him and didn't do or say anything about it. When I told her he was checking her out, she dismissed that too. It got to the point where I had to try and find her last week because she wasn't where she claimed she was. She was supposed to go over her best friend, Mandy, house to Mandy's mom's nails but flaked on her after Trey called her. Since my wife's phone went straight to voicemail I assumed she was with Trey and I had to call my best friend, Marcus, and he let me borrow his car to find her. Driving down Trey Street, found them and it bothered me that he practically had no clothes on. He had on just a white beater, some shorts and it looked like flip-flops. Driving back to Marcus' house, he asked me what I saw. I told him and he even admitted that he thinks he had relations. I told him I think so too, especially since he had no clothes on. If I was dressed that way and somebody came over, my wife would tell me to put some clothes on. He looked like he just woke up or something. He asked me what I planned on doing but I didn't really know at the time. After that, I had thanked Marcus for babysitting my kids and surprisingly made it home almost 40 minutes before my wife did. When she came back she even looked guilty. When I asked where she was super vague and wouldn't answer me in a direct way. Eventually I just had to drop it, especially since I didn't catch them in the act like I planned to. People here said it was going to get worse and it did. Now she looks at me like I'm her prison guard and don't really want to talk to me. She only talk to her friends on her phone and don't interact with the kids and treat them like they're a chore. She just sits in our little dining room area and text. I didn't even know what to say to her. What was even worse was thanks to my schedule, I couldn't really stop her from cheating. My wife knew my everyday routine and I'm sure Trey did too. Between my job, taking care of our kids, and obligations to my mom, they apparently met up while I was out. I know this because while I was out, I would try to call her and she never answered. My wife's schedule was more flexible than mine, especially since my wife was her own boss thanks to her nail salon. Whenever I got back home my wife wouldn't be there, especially if she didn't have to pick up the kids from school. And when she came back she'd be vague about where she was. This really messed with my mind and gave me what I think is anxiety. I would be with my mom and I would be thinking of my wife riding some guy's meat. And this was ever since she left Trey's house that night. If it wasn't for this community, I wouldn't have been a lot worse. If I was blindsided by this I don't know what my mindset would have been. But after I was told to calm down and start monitoring them for truth I had to man up. After doing that, I was able to get the truth and found out today that yes, Trey was having relations with my wife. And my plan had worked out perfectly. That weekend after work, I bought a VAR and put it in her car. At first I tested it out when I took the kids to eat McDonald's and it works pretty good. After that I put it in my wife's car. Since it's possible he banged her in the car it should pick it up. It should even pick up any talk or incriminating conversations they could be having. Doing this I did feel crazy and couldn't believe this was my life. The most important advice I think I got was to act like I wasn't concerned about Trey. It was a lie, but I think I need to start getting used to it. Not bringing him up and acting like everything was good got her to ease up a little. It was hard, but I just kept my mind on getting the truth. When I told Marcus about this, even he thought I was a genius. A few days ago I snuck out and got the VR out of her car and listened to what was on it. I heard a few things, but I definitely heard her talking with Trey in her car. The one thing that stood out was when they were riding somewhere. The music was on, but it could still kinda make out what they were saying. He was definitely flirting with my wife and calling her beautiful. My wife was giggling and I couldn't make out what she was saying, but it wasn't stopping him. I heard him tell her to stop somewhere and things got silent for a minute. Then it sounded like a bunch of guys got in the car and they drove off. It got harder to hear them with everybody holding their own conversations. It sounded like she was driving them around to places. Through all their nonsense I heard him say he was trying to come over. For a second I couldn't hear the conversation, but I definitely heard my wife say to Trey, she has to leave early so come over. That was pretty much the end of the usefulness coming from the VR in her car. They just talked and laughed and one guy called Trey thirsty. After that I tried to figure out who was my wife talking about when she said somebody was leaving early. I thought it might be Mandy, but even though Mandy was like a sister to her, it don't seem like she told Mandy about Trey. She definitely wasn't talking about her mom, so it had to be the girl who run the salon with my wife. It didn't make too much sense to me because there was a teenager learning to do nails there, but it was the best thing to go on. Nobody else made sense. Lema mi amigo Marcus para ver si podíamos intercambiar coches por un día y mi dijo que sí. Después de contar lo que escuché y sorprendió y dijo que esperaba que la atrapara esta vez. Already knowing how I move, she knew to leave after me and my mom's next-door neighbors helped her with her yard. Since I couldn't cancel on my mom, I told I'd only stay for a little while because I was tired from work. My mom blew down on me for leaving early, but then her next-door neighbor said he could handle it. Around 9 o'clock, I stopped at my wife's store as it was closing. It's located in a strip mall, so it was possible to hide with the other cars there, especially since it was Marcus' car driving. Inside Trey was definitely there and it bothered me to know he was right. There was no one left inside except my wife Trey, and let's call her Sherry. My wife was definitely dressed to impress and Trey was all over her. I saw that Trey was behind my wife with his arms around her as they talked. After about 20 minutes they started full on and Trey was kissing my wife's neck and wrapping his arms around her. After catching her in that situation, it was clear they were kissing and Sherry was just watching them. After about 5 minutes Sherry must have said something about leaving and they smiled and motioned for her to leave. Taking Trey's hand they went to the back where it looked like they were going down to the basement area. I've been down in the basement area when she first started up the salon, so I knew that was the only thing in the back. She was looking for a bigger place to run her shop so she could have an office space, since the place she's at now wasn't really high-end looking enough for her. If she doesn't know anything, she knows how to market something. I was so upset I can't lie. I really can't believe this woman would do this to me. I did so much for her and she would do this to me. And Trey was definitely a real snake. He never gave me good vibes about him and I now see why. After I grabbed my VR, I made my way over to the salon. Sherry had just got done grabbing her things, so I waited for her to come out before I made my presence known. When I called out to her she looked like she saw a ghost in front of her. I told her not lock the doors, and that I know everything. She claimed she didn't know what I was talking about and I said I watched them the whole time. I called her a bad person and a liar and we had a big argument. She told me not to blame her, that my wife was with another man, and I called her messy and to get out of the way. She said she wasn't going to be able to catch them having relations because the door was locked. I asked her why they were going to close the door if Sherry knew they were already doing it, and she said they didn't want anyone to come downstairs. Apparently Sherry decided to follow me in while I had made my way to the back. My wife didn't answer my call, so I surprised her by banging on the basement door since it actually was locked. I didn't know what was going on down there, but I knew if she didn't come up we were over. After banging on the door 3 times telling them to come up, they still didn't come from the basement. Turning back to Sherry, I asked her how long she knew about this. Sherry swore she knew about Trey for about a month, and that my wife started cheating with him recently. She said he came in on her break and after a while they had went down in the basement. She said the next day they would talk about what happened. I asked her did she know that was Tasha's ex-boyfriend and she said my wife told her. I told Sherry we had kids and she said she don't have anything to do with that. I said that's fine, and that I'll be using what she said in court. When Sherry asked me what I was talking about I showed her the VAR and told her she can go home now. Getting back in the car, I drove back to Marcus who was a big help with not just the car, but watching kid too. I told him what I saw and he and his girlfriend consoled me. After that while me and Marcus was talking Mandy had called my phone. This was the last thing I needed, but I should have expected it. I decided to pick up and she said my wife told her everything and that my wife wanted to talk to me tomorrow. I told her to put her on the phone now, but Mandy said she won't let me talk to her now and she knew I was going to blow up on her. I told her I wanted to speak to my wife but Mandy wouldn't put her on. Mandy said if I came she wouldn't let me in and would wait until tomorrow. She said she was going to make my wife call me and they both wanted me to calm down. I said, yeah, whatever, and just hung up. After coming back home with the kids I got super emotional. Not only that, my anxiety started kicking in again. I still can't believe this is happening to me. Even after I did everything right with this woman, somehow I did it wrong. I thought after being married for this long, I was sure I didn't have to worry about this happening. The worst part is that it wasn't a one-time thing, I was having relations constantly. Now my whole world is going to have to change because whatever reason. I can't wait to see what she has to say tomorrow. I will update when I hear what she has to say. The ball is in her court and if I don't like way I hear I'm getting us a divorce. My mind is racing and I think it may have been a bad idea to leave Marcus' house. I feel alone, but I had to post here since everybody wanted to know exactly what my wife was doing. Comments. 1. There is nothing to say but you need to divorce her. 2. This. You need to get out of reactionary mode and start being proactive about moving on with your own life. Sure, talk to her, but incorporate everything she says into your own decision-making process. Don't wait on her for anything. Consult with an attorney, make plans for the kids. There's really not much she can say at this point, and what she will say will be nothing more than excuses and blame shifting. 3. Divorce is clearly the only way. Pick your self-respect, your kids are watching. 4. The ball is in her court and if I don't like way I hear I'm getting us a divorce. My mind is racing and I think it may have been a bad idea to leave Marcus' house. I feel alone, but I had to post here since everybody wanted to know exactly what my wife was doing. Nope, you ghost her call, you have nothing to say to her and nothing she can say can make things better. You go see a lawyer and serve her with divorce papers. She's not your wife anymore. She's Trey's free call girl, that's it. 5. No offense, but what exactly are you hoping to get out of the conversation? I feel like she's either just gonna tell you she's ready for a divorce or some BS. What's your end game because you sound like you're willing to be convinced if you like what you hear. 7. I would contact Mandy and tell her that you are not interested in what your wife has to say. Tell her that she can talk to your lawyer. If your wife comes home, do the 180 and gray rock. Google it, as it is quite easy to find. Focus on yourself and the kids only, the wife is on her own. She can move in with Trey if she wants. Separate finances so she cannot get into your money, which you need for your kids. 8. Come on, after all this you're thinking she can explain it to you? She don't respect you, she gaslights you. Why even bother with such a woman? 9. Bro, I don't know what are you trying to achieve here. I am myself betrayed and reconciled, but reconciliation happens when there is remorse or guilt or other partner wants you, but your wife disrespect you at different level. Despite your repeated warnings she cheated on you, even when she knew that you knew or had an idea that she was cheating, she continued to hurt your dignity and continued to have relations with her guy. And last but not least, when she knew that you have caught her, instead of coming to you and apologies, she went to her friend and made you bad guy that you will yell, like she deserves prize for what she did, even going to threaten you with police. Brother, you deserve much more than that and you will get someone much better than that, and remember she even treated your kids like chores, so you should know what to do here. Get lawyer work on securing your finances and divorce her. Don't go on with her, this is going to annoy you as much as a human you have no idea about, as I don't stop her at any time. 10. She didn't race home to apologize or explain or see her children were okay or anything. This woman is not your wife, your partner anymore. She's in the affair fog and nothing matters to her as much as him right now. Do not talk to her without at least your friend present. You decide when and where to talk, but unless you can forgive her and trust her again, it's done. Contact lawyers. Take charge of this, tell her when you'll talk and where, and stay away from Trey. 11. Keep your friend with you and use VR while talking to her. The way her friends are supporting her and the thing Sherry said about no wonder she's cheating in you, makes me think that she has started painting you as the bad guy. Save all the evidence and don't meet her alone. Also, before meeting/talking her, consult a lawyer to see what and how you should proceed. Take your time to talk to her. Talk to her when you are ready and not when she's ready. She has lost the privilege of being heard at her convince. Your friend can be the biggest help for you, as he's a witness that how you have been taking care of the kids and she's been abandoning them. 12. Don't leave your house no matter what. Before you talk to your wife, contact a lawyer. You need to immediately cancel your credit cards and to withdraw all the money out of your bank accounts and give her half of it. This has to be done regardless of what action you take. You should also request consultation from the big and good lawyers, so she may not be able to hire them. Your wife intended to cheat with him from the minute he checked her behind. You need to acknowledge that. Also, everything she says will be nothing but lies. If you truly wanted the truth, you will need a polygraph test. You also need to write down all the time you babysat the kids while she went to have the affair. You have a record of the conversation in your VR. This to establish neglect of the kids, so it may help you with custody. If you do decide to amend or even try to work on fixing the marriage, a post-nup should be signed to address any act of infidelity. If she refused, then you got your answer right there and you should serve her with divorce. 13. The ball is not in her court. You are making the decisions now. You have to decide whether you can stay with a liar and a cheat. You have to decide whether you stay married to a woman that completely disrespected you and emasculated you. Lawyer up. Go nuclear. Go after your share of her business. Move your share of funds and other assets into individual accounts. Let's see how cute Trey thinks he is when she's a single mom struggling to support herself and find a babysitter so she can date. 14. You need to be careful now. Do not meet with your wife alone, ask someone to be there. Not Mandy, not Trey, but someone that is on your side. In her mind, she is already in court with you, and if you meet alone with her now, then she can tell everyone that you hit her, threatened her, or whatever. So don't meet alone with her now, and always keep the VR charged and with you. Go to a doctor and get tested for STDs now. At best, you call Mandy again and tell her that you are not interested in talking with your wife and that you will get in contact with a lawyer so that she can talk with him. Show her that she just lost you. Then meet with a lawyer. Don't let your wife make the rules of this game, because then you will lose. If she wants to talk with you, then she has to ask you when you have time and where you want to meet. Not the other way around with her telling you when to talk. Take back the control of the situation and your life. Stay in close contact with Marcus and get support from him. Tell your friends and family about what she did so that you can get more support. Meet with a lawyer and do exactly what the lawyer tells you to do. Leave alcohol aside, they won't help you. Drink plenty of water and eat healthy, even if you have to force yourself to eat. From now on, remember this in all you do. You and your wife no longer share a common goal. She is working against you and will do whatever she can to make everyone believe that this all is your fault. She will tell people how you neglected her, were abusive and cold towards her. Prepare for that. Reach out to people and tell them about her affair before she starts to spread her lies around. You are worth so much more than to be treated this way. Edit. I want to highlight here once again that you should not talk to her tomorrow. You need time for yourself now to process what she did and to protect yourself. If you talk with her, then all you will hear are reasons why you are at fault, why she cheated on you, and how she had no other choice. Lies and more lies is all you will get. Tell her to stay at Mandy's place or that she can go to her lover if she wants to, you don't care. Until you processed what she did, see her for who she is and no longer for who you thought she was, you should not meet with her or talk to her. Instead, meet and talk with a doctor and a lawyer ASAP.